What is up, guys? All right, I'm doing this video specifically on my alerts and what I kind of do. I have quite a few people that have followed me over the years. I've been alerting on Discord for, gonna be 4 years in August, I believe. And trading for longer than that. And, the way I've traded has kind of been refined over the years. And, if you look at me from the past, similar trading styles, but I'm trading way different things, way different tickers. But that has been refined over the years to what I do now. And this is pretty much my finished product. This is what I do every single morning. I make a very solid living doing this every single morning. And, as far as my analyst channel, if that's what you want to call it, goes, it's very unique in comparison to other analyst channels. Uh, I'm not going to go look at other analyst channels, but if you go to other analyst channels, you're going to see the opposite of what you're seeing here. You're going to see a lot of just buy and sell alerts. It's just going to be a lot of call entries and exits, no charts, no kind of thought, just kind of the cookie cutter alerts that have kind of degraded this platform and degraded hundreds of thousands of traders' lives. I've been in this business for a while. I've not only have I gone through my own journey to profitability, but I have watched uh, thousands of other people and worked closely with hundreds of people to watching their struggles and watching them flip profitable over the course of months and sometimes even years. And a lot goes into it. And the truth is, one of the common themes on Discord is uh, traders get hooked on alerts. They pay for a Discord server, and this Discord server may have a ton of bot analysts everywhere. And I don't, I have bot analysts in my server. But a lot of servers have a bunch of bot analysts that just kind of send these buy and sell alerts. And when you look at their channels, you don't see charts, you don't see sentiment, you don't see thought. It doesn't really look like a real person. When you look at the channel, you can tell that there's no way that this channel provides any value to members unless members are taking their trades and making money. Okay. And what that does is it reinforces terrible habits that I'm still working with dozens of traders currently that have reinforced terrible trading habits over the course of years as a result of following alerts. Because here's what following alerts does. It creates a factor of dependability, right? You become dependable on something else. And when you start learning to trade, you start learning TA, and you feel like you're becoming a better trader because you're correct on your predictions a higher percentage of the time. But over the course of months and even a couple of years, you're going to get stuck in this phase where it's you're going to go on streaks of green, maybe days or weeks in a row of green, and then the first 1 or 2 red days is going to wipe you out, and you're going to be stuck in that cycle for a long time. Well, a lot of that happens from bad psychological reinforcement from the gate. You have trading, you have technical analysis skills, and you have psychological skills. No one develops psychological skills properly in the beginning, and you're doing the opposite if you just hop into, you decide you want to learn this industry, you see the potential, you want to learn how to trade, you pay for a Discord server, and you start following some alerts. Not only is that training your psychology be dependent on something else, but the truth is that analyst is going to be a better trader than you. And while I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter if you follow the best analyst in the world, you are going to lose money. The only way you can be consistently profitable from following an analyst is if you're already profitable yourself. There are way too many errors to be made on the user side of things when it comes to taking trades. You can enter a little too early. You can enter a little too late. You can sell too early. You can sell too late. You can mismanage your sizing. There's a million things that can happen. The analyst delays an alert, or the analyst likes to average down to hell. I used to be one of those analysts that used to advertise a 95% win rate. And I went, 86 green trades in a row. But what they don't tell you is at the end of that streak that lasted 2 months, and I believe it was 2022, I lost nearly everything I made on that streak because I reinforced terrible psychology. But what you find is those people start following analysts, and those analysts are better traders than they are, but they don't know that it's impossible to make money following an analyst unless you're already profitable. And because they know the analyst is a better trader than them, they blindly follow the analyst. yet they lose. They're still going to have winning trades, but they're overall going to be net losers. But if they compare their performance while they follow an analyst versus not following an analyst, well, they win more trades when they follow an analyst. And every time you win a trade, it reinforces what you're doing. It reinforces your state of mind, your psychology, your perspectives, all those things. And if you win a higher percentage of the time while following an analyst, despite being unprofitable, you're reinforcing that psychology, and you know that you'll lose even more money if you trade by yourself. So it becomes very hard to step away from following alerts. It becomes very hard to just take matters into your own hand and learn how to do this thing for real. Most people think they're learning how to trade. They're not, especially if you're following an analyst on a day-to-day basis, right? Without the proper fundamentals, without the proper foundation of trading psychology to build off of. And what happens is months and years go by, and you realize that you feel like you're a better trader, but as far as your profit and loss is concerned, your profit and loss sure isn't testifying to that. Your profit and loss is showing you that you've never improved as a trader. You've always been losing money, and you've always been following analysts blindly. And once you start doing that, it's a really hard habit to break out of. And I have watched hundreds of people lose a ton of money over analysts over the years. I've watched hundreds of people that have wasted years of their lives just blindly following analysts. And I have watched dozens of people lose everything from following analysts. And I'm talking everything. They lost their marriage, they've lost their house, and they've gone into debt as a result, mostly due to the damages caused by following an analyst and then trying to take matters into their own hands when things get bad. But because they haven't grown as a trader at all, that's not any better. So that's very different than what I do in my channel. And, I can rant for hours about the damaging effects of blindly following an analyst and, what happens when that happens and how hard it is to get off that train. But I'm not gonna rant too much about that. That's just kind of a background. So I've seen the damages. I see the average analyst. I've seen the damages that it causes, and over the years I've done something quite different. It starts off with the way my bot itself works. So with my bot, I don't use commands to type my bot. My bot doesn't use embeds, Discord embeds, like a lot of these analysts do. A lot of analysts use Discord embeds, and a lot of analysts have to use a command to send out an alert, and that really limits the amount of stuff they can put in their channel. That's why a lot of analysts, you'll just click their channel, just be a bunch of embeds with buy and sell alerts. Useless. You'll never have any idea whatsoever why they get into a trade, why they exit a trade. You'll never have any idea why they do anything that they do. And that's also extremely damaging. You're not growing. You're just going backwards. You're a blind sheep with a shepherd that doesn't even know you exist. Okay? So that's a problem. My channel is different. So I have a bot, and anything that I type in this channel, within 2 seconds, it's actually less than 2 seconds, anything I type in this channel sends out to every single server that I'm in, including the server that you're in right now, that you're watching this. So this video is going to be posted in my channel. It's going to immediately send it out to every channel. What that allows me to do is I can say whatever I want. I can say whatever I want, and it is immediately sent out, right? So obviously I have my entries and exits, and then I can type anything else. Anything that's on my mind, I just type out and send it. And when you look at my channel here, it's very different because of that. It's actually like you're seeing a real person operate. So the way my channel is designed is, I know how damaging trading is to a lot of it. I know how hard it is to become profitable, but I also know how terrible it is for your progress to follow analysts. So I've designed my channel in such a way that you don't follow behind me, but you're more so trading alongside me, if that makes sense. So yes, I still alert my entries and exits, but I alert my TA. I alert when I'm thinking about entering. I'm alerting, what's a good setup, what needs to happen for me to enter. Once I'm in the trade, how do I feel about the trade? Are the calls chopping? Does it look really bad? Do I think it's going to stop out? Do I think it's going to hit PT? What's a TA of the trade? You see my chart and you see my comments on the chart. You see a million things in my channel that it feels like you're in a voice chat with me and I'm just speaking my thoughts. So that's the first thing. You're trading alongside me rather than trading behind me. Okay? That is a very important thing. Well, here's the problem. It's kind of hard not to trade behind people because you don't know what contracts they're going to get into at any given point. You don't know what tickers they are going to trade. You don't know what strike price they're going to get in and expiration. You have to wait. Most people wait for an analyst to alert. Then after the analyst alerts, they go into their brokerage, whether it's Fidelity, Schwab, Thinkorswim, Webull. Highly recommend Thinkorswim. That's what I use. They type in the ticker. They go to the options chain. Then they pick the expiration. And then they pick the strike price. And then they pick how much contracts they want. And then they probably screw around with some limit orders or just market enter. And then they're in the trade. Yeah, good luck following fast-paced options trading if you're doing that. It's not going to work. Okay. So over the years, I have refined my trades to just two things. I trade the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ every single morning. Okay. And I also trade at the same time every single morning. Market open. I pretty much never alert past the first hour of trading. I trade for the first hour every single day, and I alert for the first hour every day. So there's our first consistency, right? There's our first constant variable. I trade the first hour of every single day. Now, today my PC was not working properly, so I ended up missing out. But aside from that, trade the first hour every single day. So you know exactly when I'm going to trade. And I only trade two things in this channel. I trade SPX contracts and QQQ contracts. And the reason I just trade those now is for consistency purposes. I used to trade Tesla every day and Apple every day. And most people never find out because they never flip profitable. But once you're profitable, but you trade Tesla every day, wash sale rule is going to make you owe more on taxes than money you made. If you made 10 grand in a month trading Tesla, you may owe 20 grand due to wash sale. So SPX does not have wash sale. And SPX, 60% of your gains are taxed as long-term capital gains, so it's advantageous. Now, SPX is very similar to SPY, but it's 10x leverage, and it has those benefits. NDX is the NASDAQ version of that, but it's untradeable because the spreads are too big, and it's unalertable because the contracts are too big. So I trade QQQ. So I trade SPX and QQQ every single day. There's another constant variable. You know what I'm trading. Another constant variable, I only trade the 0-day contracts that expire today. So at any given point, you know what time I'm trading, you know what I'm trading, and you know my expiration. You know the time, ticker, and expiration. And another constant, I pretty much try to, I only enter SPX calls between $2.50 and $3 a contract. And I only enter QQQ calls between roughly 50 and 80 cents. Again, when you're trading 0 days and you are pretty much borderline day trading / scalping like I am, it's rare that I'm in a trade for more than 15 minutes in the morning. Sometimes if it's running really hard, I will be. But when you're only in a trade for less than 15 minutes, under normal circumstances, most of the time, your strike price isn't going to matter a whole lot. As long as it's not way too far out of the money, it's not going to matter. You're not in the trade long enough, right? So I only trade SPX contracts between $2.50 and $3, and QQQ contracts between 50 cents and 80 cents. So, like I said, strike price doesn't matter much because you're only in a trade for 15 minutes. You're not going to get a lot of theta decay. Sometimes you're going to get IV decay, but like implied volatility decay, but that's fairly rare, and it's just unlucky when that happens. So 0-day contracts only, and SPX between $2.50 and $3, and QQQ contracts between 50 cents and 80 cents. right? So not only do you know when I'm trading, not only do you know what tickers I'm trading, not only do you know at all times what expiration I'm trading, but you also know what price I enter at. So before I get into a trade, you know it can only be one of four options. It can be SPX calls between that price range, SPX puts between that price range, QQQ puts within that price range, and QQQ calls within that price range. It is one of four things, okay? If you know those things in advance, it decreases the delay that you're behind me. And you should be on an active trader. You should not be going into the options chain to be entering a trade if you trade like me and only trade SPX and QQQ. If you only trade one or two tickers, you should not have to go into the options chain for that. I'm going to have a separate recording just on my brokerage setup that allows me to get in and out of trades almost like I'm futures trading. Just in and out immediately. One click away from SPX calls, puts, QQQ calls and puts. And if you guys have that set up, you're going to follow alongside me. You're going to follow alongside me. So those are the first things. Instead of trading behind me, you're trading alongside me. I screwed that up, not follow alongside. That sounded really weird when it came out. Trading alongside me. So if I send in my channel, hey, if this happens on the chart, I will enter calls. And that happens quite often. Okay, that happens quite often. Most of my trades, you know I'm probably going to enter them beforehand. Sometimes if I kind of wake up late to market open like this day, for example, on the 20th, I didn't send out my pre-market analysis, which I'll typically do. I can't send that out because I don't have time. But if I have time, I will let you guys know exactly what will trigger me into calls. So if I say this needs to happen for me to get into calls, you know exactly what to look for on your chart. And once it does happen, you don't need my alert to enter anymore. You know when I'm going to enter. You know what contracts I'm going to enter. And you know what ticker I'm going to enter. Like, you know everything already. This allows you to actually feel like you're trading for yourself rather than just kind of being a blind sheep following a shepherd that doesn't even know you. Okay? Another constant. I only chart on ES and NQ, and on all my charts, I draw out my trade. So this is an example. As you can see, I only chart on ES and NQ. ES is S&P 500 futures chart. NQ is NASDAQ futures chart. I only chart on the futures charts because I need to see overnight price action. You know, overnight price action doesn't matter much for NVIDIA and Google and all those things because other countries aren't trading those entities as much outside of New York hours. But as far as the general United States stock market, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, the entire world trades. And the entire world has a lot of major institutions that place major trades that create major price action formations overnight that are very important contextually for my trades at market open. If I'm trading at market open, my price action can't just start at market open. I need context that allows me to do analysis, to have bias, so I'm prepared for what's more likely to happen. Because oftentimes the pre-market is going to reveal to me through analysis what's more likely to happen, right? And if I know which series of events is more likely to happen, I'm more prepared to react when it does. So I only trade on ES and NQ, and I've been doing it for years. But with the rise of prop firms lately, funded futures trading, which I do myself, I just don't alert them. In some servers that I'm in, I have a lot more futures traders following my trades than options traders. Because it's just more cost funded futures trading is just more cost efficient. It's financially wiser. You're putting up way less risk. You're learning way more. It's just a better deal if you're a new trader. Because if you're a new trader, you're going to lose everything no matter what. Your only goal right now should be how long can I make my money last and how much value can I get out of my money. That's all it should be. But because I already do my analysis on ES and NQ, and I draw my trades, which includes my entry, at least my first take profit, my rough stop loss area. People are able to follow my channel taking futures trades. So that's another factor of my channel. It's another valuable asset of my channel, is that right there. It appeals to both futures traders and options traders alike because I only trade the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. So if I enter calls, it's the same as a futures trade. And on my chart, you can see where I want price action to go. And you can see where I don't want it to go. That's where my stop loss is. You can see all those things. And most people now, over the years, especially in my place, but most people I'd say that follow my channel, that have been doing so for at least 6 months, they don't even take my alerts anymore. They still look at my channel every single day, but they don't take my alerts. Instead, they just use my channel as confirmation because they've learned the way I trade. They trade a very similar style to me, and they just take trades that we both agree on. If I'm bullish on this and I enter calls and they were already entering calls, that's confirmation. They take the trade. That is the most valuable use you can get out of any analyst channel. It's just self-confirmation of your own bias because you're not slowing down your own development. And again, it's like you're trading with a teammate. You're trading in a social setting with more confirmation, and statistically, that's going to give you much better trading results. So that's the point that I want all you guys to get to, is where you don't even take my alerts, you just use them as confirmation of your own biases. Now, one more consistency is with options trading specifically. I don't really do this with futures trading because there's no decay, but with options trading, especially on 0 days, sometimes the contracts will chop. Well, they always chop. There's always theta decaying the contracts fairly rapidly. And a lot of times there's a setup that it's bullish enough for me to get in, but it's not bullish enough for me to be half size because there's a decent chance that it starts bull flagging after I enter the trade. Or, we're putting in an inverse head and shoulders, but we haven't formed the right shoulder yet. So it's bullish enough for me to get to the nearest pivot or supply above, but it could form that right shoulder and pull back temporarily before it goes. Well, if I enter full size, that's going to hurt. Those pullbacks are going to hurt. That consolidation is going to hurt because my contracts are going to decay. So that's the final constant variable, or I guess it's not quite a constant variable. That's the final major variable of my channel. I either enter half size or full size. Sometimes I'll enter very light, which is more like a third of my total position size. But when I enter a trade, and it's just like this, and I say saving buying power to add, or a lot of times I'll say half size. Recently on this day, most of them were half size. I feel, say I enter with 10, say I usually put $2,000 per trade in, right? If I fill full size, what's that mean? I enter with the whole $2,000 right at the beginning. You will never, I don't play games with my psychology like this, nor do I play games with you guys, and it's fairly rare for an analyst to do this, but I don't play games. If I enter full size, I am stopping out. I can't average down. Very, very, very rarely will I ever add or average down to a full size trade. There's a couple of times that I'll average up, but it's rare. Out of this entire year, I've maybe averaged down on a full size trade twice. It doesn't happen because it's terrible psychology. I'm willing to risk $2,000 to see if this trade is going to be a winner. I'm not adding more. Now, some hypotheses I plan on adding because there's a decent chance it can consolidate, or if it continues going up, I can average up. So on those trades, I'll enter half size. Okay? And those trades where I enter half size, I'm getting into calls or puts. And then I plan on averaging down or averaging up depending on what price action does. So you even know what size I'm going in with as I enter the trade. So you can mirror that with your own trade. And over time, you'll start to learn what's a half size trade and what's a full size trade and whatnot. Maybe a trade is really good, but it's got a bad risk to reward, and it might sweep a pivot nearby and pull back a bit. That's a trade where I enter half size. But if it has a great risk to reward, a great place for a hard stop loss, a solid PT, I'm entering full size. So it's either full size or half size. And if I enter half size, I could stop out. It happens plenty of times where I just stop out and I don't try to average down to save it because the hypothesis invalidates. Um, but most of the time I average down or I enter with half size, I plan on averaging down or I plan on averaging up. You can expect that in the trade now, right? Most other analysts don't do that. And with those things, it allows you to accurately reflect my trades. So for example, on this random day for, I say filled half size right here. I'm looking for the overhead pivot. Well, I filled half size and I stopped out right after because the entire trade just invalidated. And that's one thing about me specifically as an analyst that really sets myself apart from other analysts. I don't care about win rate. I don't give a shit about it anymore. Caring about win rate is something that really hurt my trading career and my psychology for a long time. Made it very difficult to accept being incorrect because every loss felt like I was wrong. It's very easy to get in the habit of trying to save every every red trade and flip it green somehow, some way. I don't care about win rate, which it's not as flashy because I don't have anywhere near a 90%. I'd assume I have like a 70 to 80% win rate now. I have no idea. I don't track it, and that's on purpose. It's not nearly as flashy as 90%, but it's more profitable. Because I watch other 90% analysts, and I used to be one of them, where they're going to average down 3 times on a red trade to keep their win rate. And they're going to sell a lot of trades at break even, right? I don't do that. I care about actually making money, not about win rate. Because if you care about win rate, you're going to reinforce bad psychology. You're going to try to save your losses. So with me, I don't give a shit. I entered this trade half size with a hypothesis, averaging down. If I enter half size, there is room within that hypothesis to average down or average up. Okay, so my stop, I don't have a hard stop loss on the trade. It would be a soft stop loss. But on this trade, it just dumped. I entered here, and it dumped. I had to stop out. There was no bullish setup there. And the nice thing about not caring about your win rate is I cut my trades. This is a trade that I could have easily saved, or at least tried to save. I had an excuse to. I entered with a half size. I don't care though. Right? I took a 30% loss on this trade, but it was only half size. It's a pretty small loss. That's a 15% loss on a full size trade. And that's one thing you're going to find about me. I don't care about stopping out. What I draw on my chart actually means something. Okay? I don't care if I stop out of 3 trades in a row. If I draw on my chart, this is where I plan on stopping out. You don't need to wait on me to call out a stop loss. You know I'm stopping out there. And I do, pretty much every single time. That's another big consistency that you don't see in the analyst community a lot. I stop out of my trades because I don't care about win rate. I care about making money for a living, right? And caring about your win rate conflicts with that. If I'm green, I'm happy. If I am green and I executed my edge with a flawless, elevated state of mind within my probabilistic perspective, that is a perfect day. I don't care what my win rate was. I don't care about what my win rate was for this week, this month, so on and so forth. Now, I do track for like if I'm developing new strategy for futures or whatever. I still track the win rate for documentation purposes, and then I go in my back testing documentation, and if my win rate's low, I'll alter my strategy. But if you're too focused on trying to artificially bump up your win rate, how are you ever going to find out why your win rate is actually low if you're always trying to save it and skewing your data? That's another thing with me. Because I'm so willing to stop out, if my win rate drops for an extended period of time, for like a few weeks, I can look into my TA, look at my data that's unskewed, and figure out if it's something that's temporary or something permanent that I need to fix due to the market evolving. I can figure that out and evolve as a trader. But if you can't accept losses, you're never going to do that. So that's another thing. I'm not afraid to stop out. Now, the final thing that's very important about my channel is at the end of most days, some days where I don't really trade, I won't do it. But at the end of most days, I'll send a YouTube video where I review all my trades. All the analysis that went into the day, my pre-market bias, The reasons that I did what I did and what I did, I talked about in that video. Now, on my YouTube channel, you're not going to find a link to my social media or whatever. It's purely for utility, and it's for you guys. Because I'm bad at answering DMs. I'm busy. I don't like answering DMs. It's a pain in the ass. That doesn't mean I won't answer. You guys feel free to DM me whenever. I'll get around to it at some point. But I record these YouTube videos to limit DMs. Because what other analyst at the end of nearly every single day do they send a 10 to 30-minute recording where they talk about exactly what they did and why they did it and answer any questions that members have about their trades? Not many do. And with that, you can clearly see how my channel, you don't even need to be trading. You can be paper trading. You can just be watching. My channel's designed to build traders, right? And another reason why I prefer to do it that way, because it takes pressure off me. If I know that I teach people how to trade, I also know that my percentage of traders that look at my channel, there's a lower percentage of them that follow my trades directly. If I teach people how to trade and I have a red day, that doesn't mean everyone's going to have a red day. And also, no one's going to be bitching at me that they have a red day because they're learning how to trade. They understand the game. But a lot of analysts, and I used to deal with this, that their channels are useless if you're not taking their trades. There's no information, there's no TA, there's no lessons, there's no psychology, there's nothing in their channel besides just cookie cutter alerts. If they have a red week, they're going to get dozens of DMs of people crying about how it's red and blah, blah, blah. I don't get that. I never get that. I'd like to think I'm one of the only analysts on Discord that I will not get a single DM. I alert in 40 servers, hundreds of thousands of members. I won't get a single DM about a red day because no one has any questions. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets what I'm doing, right? And these YouTube videos make it a lot better. They're, again, typically 15 to 30-minute videos where I talk about everything that I did in that day, so it's clear what I did. If I made a mistake, I talk about it. If I did something really good, I talk about it. So everyone knows exactly what I did and why I did it, so they can continue to grow. Regardless if it's a red day or a green day, there is always value in this channel for you to grow as a trader and learn the game. But with that being said, that pretty much covers my channel. And I mean, you guys can go back in my channel that have had my bot in their server for an extended period of time, and you can just look at what I do. Oh, one last thing is if I'm done trading, because I lock in my gains, but I've already committed to stop trading, I'm locking in my gains, but another good trade setup shows up, I'll send a TA alert. Like, hey, if it does this, it'll be a good setup, but I'm not trading it. If I ever see a good setup, I'm going to send it to you guys. But keep in mind, I'm only looking for the first hour, maybe hour and a half of market open, and then I'm done. That's it for me. But aside from that, you can see in my channel, there's just a lot here. So if you have not been following my trades or you're inexperienced with what I do, don't follow my trades right away. Don't even try. Just sit back and look. Get a feel for how we execute. Learn what my TA looks like. What's on my charts and what they mean. Keep in mind, all the indicators on my chart I don't use except the supply and demand indicator. So just keep that in mind. Don't ask me about my moving averages. I don't use them. They're literally just for decoration. I'm not even joking. But get a feel for it. Get a feel for how I trade, how I do my TA, what triggers me into a trade. And if you stick around for just a couple of months, you're going to find out that I trade the same way every single morning. I have the exact same methodology of trading, the exact same edge. And what you're going to find out is there's no randomness. Every call trade that I take, I've taken in the past on this channel. Every put trade that I take, I've taken in the past. So you get to a point, and most of my members are at a point where they don't even follow my alerts because they know I'm going to get into a trade if something happens because they know how I trade. And not only do they know my strategy, which means they know what's going to trigger me into a trade, they know exactly what contracts I'm going to get into, whether I'm going to go half size or full size depending on the setup. They know where my PT is going to be. They know where my stop loss is going to be. They know all these things just from looking at my channel and staying in touch over a couple of months, that's how you build traders. Not the way other analysts are doing, because other analysts aren't trying to build traders. They're just trying to get money from servers. And I know a lot of other analysts are great people, but I'm on just kind of a completely different mission. And but aside from that, that pretty much fully covers everything in my channel. I can't really think of much else. So yeah, don't start jumping into my alerts right away. Just follow for a week mentally. Follow for a week. Put up the active trader on your thinkorswim or whatever you use, and I'll record a lesson and send that to you guys on my thinkorswim fast options trading setup. Just practice on paper trading. You can have live paper trading on thinkorswim or most platforms now, but just practice. Learn. Watch the YouTube videos. If you watch my channel and watch the market and watch the YouTube videos, you do not need to trade real money to grow as a trader. And then as you build confidence in yourself, you start kind of getting into the rhythm that we're all in. You know that I'm usually going to send my pre-market analysis, which is my bias for the day, what I think is more likely to happen, 5 minutes before market open, which includes typically a trade setup. And then market open happens. You know I'm about to get into a trade because price action is shooting up towards my pivot. You start seeing all these things, you make the connections. Once my actions become more predictable to you, that's when you start trading. Now, you can start trading beforehand, but if you're going to do it, keep it very light size because you're going to mess up a lot. But the optimal time to start seriously trading alongside me is once my actions are somewhat predictable. And again, if you watch my channel, you pay attention to the TA I send out. You look at the stuff that I send out. You look at the words. You look at all this that I send out. And you watch the YouTube videos, I'm going to become very predictable very quickly. And once I start becoming predictable, you're ready to start trading alongside me. And you're going to grow as a trader. You're not going to get addicted to following an analyst. You're not going to lose all your self-confidence. You're not going to get stuck in this boom and bust cycle of doom for months and years at a time, not growing as a trader and just server hopping from server to server, analyst to analyst, hoping to find a gold mine that doesn't exist. And you're going to actually grow as a trader and do this thing for real. So, yeah, and I didn't say it earlier, but it takes a lot of stress off me because, again, if I'm teaching people how to actually trade, that's less people directly impacted by my actions, which is better for my psychology as well. Helps me execute with a more flawless and elevated and careless state of mind. But all right, that is it for this recording. Kind of a longer recording there, but very useful. And I will send it out to you guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions, DM me. My user is Bryce Trades. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow, bright and early in the morning, if you're watching this when tomorrow's a market open day. And yeah, again, let me know if you guys have any comments. Leave a comment on the YouTube video that this will be posted on. DM me on Discord. And yeah, I look forward to meeting all you guys. But all right, have a great rest of your day.